The door exploded inward, with splintered, metal groaned, and 6 men in black suits flooded into apartment 304 like a tidal wave of violence. Day one stepped through last, his footsteps deliberate, his expression cold. He had done this 100 times. Break in, extract the target, leave no witnesses. Tonight should have been no different. Except tonight, everything changed. The apartment was silent. No resistance. No gunfire. No target scrambling for an escape route. Just sobbing. As Day One's eyes adjusted to the dim light, he saw her. A young African woman, mid-20s, curled on the floor near the couch. Blood dripped from her split lip. Her left eye was swollen shut. Her dress was torn at the shoulder, exposing fresh, angry bruises. And standing over her, fist still clenched, was a man, Korean, tall, smug. He looked at the intruders with irritation, not fear. Wrong apartment, the man said flatly. Get out. But Day One didn't move. He couldn't, because the girl lifted her head slightly, and through the blood and tears, her face became visible. For a moment, time stopped. His breath caught in his throat, his vision tunneled, and the world around him faded into static noise. She looked exactly like Hyrin. The same eyes, the same cheekbones, the same delicate curve of her jaw, the same terror. The present and the past collided violently, and suddenly he wasn't standing in this apartment anymore. He was back in that hospital room 7 years ago, holding Hyrin's lifeless hand, her face bruised beyond recognition, her body broken by the man she tried to leave. He had been too late then, but not now. Day One's hand moved to his holster. The motion was smooth, instinctive. The Glock 19 cleared the leather in less than a second. One shot. The boyfriend's head snapped back. His body crumpled to the floor, lifeless before he even realized what happened. The sound echoed in the small apartment. Sharp, final. The girl screamed. Day One's men froze, eyes wide. They knew better than to question him. But this was different. This wasn't the plan. This wasn't the target. Boss, Min Jae said carefully. What? Get out, Day One said, voice low and hollow. Boss, we need to. I said get out. The men exchanged glances, then slowly filed back into the hallway, leaving him alone with the girl and the corpse. Day One holstered his weapon and approached her slowly, like she was a wounded animal that might bolt. She was still sobbing, her body trembling, her hands pressed against the floor as if trying to disappear into it. He knelt in front of her, up close. The resemblance was even more haunting. Not identical, but close enough to make his chest ache. Close enough to make him feel like the universe was playing a cruel joke. He reached out and gently touched her cheek, brushing away a streak of blood with his thumb. She flinched violently, her eyes snapping to his face. Don't be afraid, he whispered, but she was. He could see it in her dilated pupils, in her short, panicked breaths. Somehow, that fear felt personal, like it was fear he had once failed to stop. Please, she choked out. Please don't hurt me. The words pierced him like a blade. He pulled his hand back slowly and rose to his feet. He looked at the man's body, the man who had been beating her, and felt nothing. No guilt, no regret, only a hollow satisfaction. You're safe now, he said. Then he turned and walked out, the broken door hanging crooked behind him. But as he stepped into the hallway, he looked back one last time. She was still on the floor, staring at him with wide, disbelieving eyes. Something clicked into place inside him. Something dark. Something he thought had died with Hyrin. Obsession. If you're already hooked, hit that subscribe button, because this story is about to get a whole lot darker. The car ride back was silent. Day One sat in the back seat, staring out the tinted window at the glowing Seoul skyline. The city pulsed with life, indifferent to the violence running through its veins. Min Jae drove, glancing occasionally at the rearview mirror. He had been with Day One for 10 years, and knew when to speak and when to stay quiet. Tonight, silence seemed safe. But 20 minutes later, he couldn't hold it in. Boss, what happened back there? Day One didn't answer immediately. His jaw tightened. His hands curled into fists. She looked like her, he finally said. The air thickened. Everyone in the organization knew about Hyrin, knew what happened, knew how it broke him. They knew the rule he enforced ever since. Never hit women, and kill any man who did. You mean? Min Jae hesitated. Exactly like her, Day One whispered. Her face, her eyes, everything. Coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences. Then what do you believe in? Day one turned his hollow eyes to him. Fate and second chances. At 2:47 a.m., Day one stood outside her apartment building. His men were gone. He needed to do this alone. He looked up at the third floor. Her window was dark, but he knew she was inside. He could feel it. He didn't know her name or anything about her, but it didn't matter. In his mind, she was already his. He pulled out his phone. I need everything. Name, background, school, work, family. Everything. On who? The girl in apartment 304. The one with the dead boyfriend. There was a pause. Boss, are you sure? Do it. Now. He hung up, leaned against his car, and lit a cigarette, eyes never leaving her window. He stayed until sunrise. Tosin woke up on the floor. For a moment, she didn't know where she was. Then the pain came. Her ribs, her face, her wrists, and the memories hit her like a wave. The fight, the beating, the door exploding inward, the gunshot, her ex-boyfriend's body lying a few feet away, eyes still open. She scrambled up, heart racing, ball rising in her throat. He was dead, and the man who killed him, cold, terrifying, had touched her face with a gentleness that didn't match anything about him. Nothing made sense. She grabbed her phone with trembling hands and dialed the police. By noon, investigators swarmed the apartment, asking questions she couldn't answer. Did you know the men who broke in? No. Did your boyfriend have enemies? I don't know. Maybe. Did they say anything to you? She hesitated, remembering his soft whisper. Don't be afraid. No, she lied. Nothing. They didn't believe her, but they couldn't prove anything. Eventually, they let her go. She packed a bag and went to her friend Kayamika's apartment. The moment Kayamika saw her bruised face, Tosin broke down crying. The next day, Tosin forced herself to return to her routine. School first. She was a graduate student at Yonsei University and couldn't afford to fall behind. But as she walked across campus, a strange sensation prickled her neck. She felt watched. Near the library, she stopped and scanned the crowd. Then she saw it. A black Mercedes sedan parked at the edge of the lot, engine idling. Her stomach dropped. It was just a car, she told herself. Just a coincidence. But the driver's door opened, and he stepped out. The man from last night. Tall, broad-shouldered, immaculate in a black suit. His face expressionless. His eyes locked on her with an intensity that made her knees weak. She couldn't move. He didn't approach. Just stood there, hands in his pockets, watching her like she was the only person in existence. Then he nodded once, slowly, and got back into the car. The Mercedes pulled away. Tosin stood frozen for a full minute, heart hammering. What on earth was that? Tosin tried to focus on her lecture, but the words blurred together. Professor Kim was talking about geopolitical tensions in East Asia, yet all she could think about was the man in the black Mercedes. The way he looked at her, the certainty in his eyes, the way he nodded as if confirming something to himself, and the way he killed her boyfriend without hesitation. She closed her eyes and inhaled slowly, trying to ground herself. It had to be paranoia. He probably had business on campus. It was just coincidence. It had to be. But deep down, she knew better. After class, she went to her part-time job at a small cafe in Hongdae. Mrs. Park, the owner, had always been kind, hiring her despite her imperfect Korean. Today the cafe was quiet, just a few students with laptops and iced Americanos. Tosin tied her apron and stepped behind the counter, relieved to have something mundane to focus on. Then the bell above the door chimed. She looked up and froze. He was there. Day one stepped inside like he owned the place, his presence commanding attention, even though he wasn't doing anything overtly threatening. He was simply there, tall, composed, dangerous. His eyes scanned the cafe until they found hers, and then they softened slightly. He walked to the counter. Tosin's hands trembled as she gripped the register. What do you want? She asked, barely keeping her voice steady. Coffee, he said. Black. No sugar. She stared at him, trying to read his expression, but his face gave nothing away. That's all, she managed. He tilted his head, as if considering something. For now, she made the coffee in tense silence, shaking so badly she nearly dropped the cup twice. When she handed it to him, their fingers brushed. The contact was brief, but it sent a jolt through her. He didn't pay. He simply nodded once, took the coffee, and sat at a table near the window, 2 tables away, and he stayed there for the next 3 hours. Mrs. Park eventually came out from the back room and leaned close to Tosin. "Who is that man?" she whispered. "I don't know." Tosin lied. "He has been staring at you for an hour. Is he your boyfriend?" "No," Tosin said quickly. "He's nobody." Mrs. Park didn't look convinced, but let it go. When Tosin's shift ended, she slipped out the back exit, hoping to avoid him. But when she rounded the corner, she found him already there, leaning against a lamppost, hands in his pockets, waiting. "How did you—" she began, then stopped. "Are you following me?" "Yes," he said without hesitation. The bluntness stunned her. She expected denial, excuses, but he offered none. "Why? What do you want from me?" He straightened and stepped closer, not threatening, but deliberate. "You remind me of someone," he said quietly. "Someone I couldn't save." The pain in his voice made her chest tighten. "I'm not her," she said. "Whoever she was, I'm not her." "I know, but you could have been. That night, if I hadn't been there." "You killed him," she cut in. "You shot him without asking questions. He was beating you. That doesn't give you the right." "It gives me every right," he said, his voice sharpening. "Men like him don't deserve mercy." Tosin stepped back, unnerved by the intensity in his eyes. "Stay away from me. I don't know you. I don't want to know you." He didn't move, didn't react, just watched her with that same unreadable expression. "You're not safe," he said finally. "Let me protect you." "I don't need your protection." A faint smile tugged at his lips, though it never reached his eyes. "You don't have to accept it. You already have it." Then he turned and disappeared into the crowd, leaving her trembling on the sidewalk. That night, she couldn't sleep. She lay in Kayamika's guest bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying the day. Kayamika noticed something was wrong over dinner, but Tosin couldn't bring herself to explain. How could she? Who would believe her? Lying in the dark, she suddenly heard footsteps outside the apartment. Slow, deliberate. Her breath stopped as the steps paused, then continued down the hallway. She exhaled shakily, telling herself it was a neighbor. But she knew better. He was out there, watching, waiting. The next morning, she went to the police. She marched into the precinct determined to file a report, get a restraining order, something. But the officer barely listened. "He's following me," she said. "He showed up at my work. He admitted to stalking me." "Has he threatened you?" The officer asked lazily. "No, but..." "Has he touched you?" "No, but..." "Then there's nothing we can arrest him for, miss." Her frustration bubbled over. "He killed my boyfriend." The officer's eyes widened slightly. "You're the girlfriend from apartment 304? "Yes." But instead of helping, he closed the file. "That case is under investigation. We can't discuss it. I'm telling you who did it." His expression turned too neutral. "You should go home. If you feel unsafe, call 112. He was dismissing her. Someone was protecting day one. By Friday, she was falling apart, slipping grades, sleepless nights, barely eating. And every time she stepped outside, she saw him. At the bus stop, across the street, reflected in cafe windows, never approaching, always watching. Kayamika eventually confronted her, and Tosin broke down, telling her everything. Kayamika urged her to leave Korea altogether, but Tosin knew running wouldn't help. He would find her. On Saturday, desperate for normalcy, Tosin went on a date with Junho, a quiet classmate. For a brief moment, she felt like herself again. Then Junho's phone rang. His face drained, and he stood abruptly. "I have to go. Family emergency." He ran out of the restaurant before she could respond. Tosin looked out the window and froze. Daewon was across the street, watching. Junho sprinted past him like he'd seen a ghost. Daewon didn't even glance at the boy. His eyes were locked on her. He crossed the street and entered the restaurant. Without a word, he sat in Junho's empty chair. "You don't need him," he said calmly. "You did that on purpose," she whispered. "Yes. You threatened him." "I didn't have to." He leaned back, completely at ease. "You only need me." Her anger flared. "Who are you?" He hesitated for the first time, then reached into his jacket and slid a sleek black card across the table. "Kong Daewon, CEO, Kong Enterprises. When you're ready to stop running," he said, "call me." Then he walked out, leaving her staring at the card like it was a trap she had already stepped into. Tosin stared at the card for hours. She sat on Kayamika's couch, turning it over in her hands, reading the name again and again. Kong Daewon. She typed it into her phone. The search results made her stomach drop. The first hit was a Forbes Korea article from 2 years ago. The young mogul. How Kong Day One built an empire before 35. She clicked it. There was a photo, professional, corporate. Him, in a tailored suit, standing before floor-to-ceiling windows, overlooking Seoul. But that wasn't what terrified her. It was the second page of search results. News articles. Police reports. Speculation. Kong Enterprises under investigation for money laundering. Alleged ties between Kong Day One and Seoul's underground. 3 witnesses disappear before trial involving Kong Corporation. And on page 3, buried in older archives, businessman Kong Day One questioned in connection to multiple homicides. No charges filed. Her hand shook as she scrolled. A Reddit thread in broken English discussed Korean organized crime. Someone mentioned his name. Kong Day One isn't just a businessman. He's the head of the Biko faction, one of the most feared syndicates in Seoul. Another reply followed. He once walked into a rival gang's headquarters alone and walked out with 3 bodies behind him. Tosin dropped her phone. The man stalking her wasn't just dangerous. He was a killer, a crime lord, and he was fixated on her. She didn't sleep that night. She lay awake, staring at the ceiling, trapped in spiraling thoughts. Run. He would find her. He had already found Junho's phone number. He knew where she worked, where she studied. He likely knew everything. Go to the police. They were bought or terrified. Confront him? Pointless. She was powerless. And the worst part was that he knew it. On Sunday morning, she forced herself outside. With Kayamika at church, the silence of the apartment suffocated her. She took the subway to Namsan Tower, hoping the crowds would make her feel safe. Families, couples, vendors. The busyness gave her a fragile sense of normalcy. She bought a coffee and sat overlooking the city. For a moment, she could breathe. Then someone sat beside her. She didn't have to look. "You've been researching me," Day One said. She turned slowly. He was dressed casually, black jeans, a dark coat, but the danger around him remained. "How did you know I'd be here?" she asked. "I always know where you are." The casual tone chilled her bones. "That's not romantic," she said bitterly. "It's terrifying." "I know." He stared out at the city before speaking again. "You want to know why I follow you? Why I can't seem to leave you alone?" "Yes." He hesitated, his voice quieter than she had ever heard. 7 years ago, I was in love with a woman named Hyrin. She tried to leave her abusive ex. I told her I'd protect her. His jaw tensed. I failed. She stayed silent. He beat her so badly she never woke up. I held her in that hospital room and made a promise. He turned to her, pain in his eyes. "I swore I'd never let another woman die like she did." "So that's why you killed my boyfriend," she said. "No. I killed him because he deserved it. But the reason I can't leave you alone." His gaze darkened. "You look like her. Not exactly, but enough for me to feel like fate is giving me a second chance." "I'm not her," she said sharply. "I'm my own person." "I know. It doesn't change how I feel." Anger erupted in her chest. She stood abruptly. "You don't get to project your trauma onto me. You don't get to follow me or control my life. I didn't ask for this." He rose as well, towering over her. "You didn't have to. The moment I saw you, you became mine. I'm not yours." "Yes," he said quietly. "You are." She pushed through the crowd, tears blurring her vision, aware that even as she walked away, he was watching. By Monday, she was barely functioning. She drifted through class like a ghost. During lunch, she received a text from an unknown number. "You left your scarf at the tower." "I have it. I'll return it tonight." She hadn't brought a scarf. He was creating excuses. At 8 p.m., a knock came at the apartment door. Kayamika opened it, then tried to slam it shut. Day One's hand stopped it effortlessly. "I'm here to see Tosin." "She doesn't want to see you," Kayamika snapped. "Kayamika, it's okay," Tosin said, stepping forward. She didn't want her friend hurt. Kayamika stared like she had lost her mind. Tosin stepped into the hallway and shut the door behind her. "What do you want?" she asked. He held out a scarf. "Not hers, but expensive." "You need to stop," she said. "I'm not going to fall for you. I'm not asking you to. I'm telling you I'm not going anywhere." "Why? Why me?" "Find someone else to obsess over." "Because you're the one fate put in front of me." "That's insane." "Maybe, but it doesn't make it less true." He stepped closer. She backed away. "I follow you because I can't breathe when you're not near," he said. "Because I keep seeing you on that floor and seeing her in that bed, and his voice cracked. "I can't lose you too. You never had me," she whispered. He cupped her cheek. His hand trembled. Then let me have you now. For a moment she froze, then pulled away. No, I'm not a replacement. I deserve better. She went inside and locked the door. Day one stood in the hallway for a long time before calling someone. Double the security on her building. Watch her 24/7. Find out everything about her friends, classmates, everyone. He paused. And if anyone tries to hurt her, inform me immediately. He walked away but glanced back to the door with a small smile. The next day, Tosin noticed the watchers, professionals trying to be subtle. A man reading a newspaper that never changed pages. A woman with a latte she never drank. A black SUV with tinted windows. He hadn't just followed her. He had surrounded her. She called him. Call them off, she demanded. There for your protection. I don't want your protection. That's not your choice. You're suffocating me. I'd rather you hate me and be alive, he said, than love me and be dead. He hung up. That night, she decided to run. She booked a one-way flight to Lagos and packed lightly. Kayamika offered to come, but Tosin refused. The next evening, she took a taxi to the airport. No cars tailing her. No suits. At the gate, she finally breathed. She was going to escape. Then a hand closed around her wrist. She turned slowly. Day one stood there. Did you really think I wouldn't know? He asked softly. Please, she whispered. Let me go. He looked at her with something close to regret. I can't. Why not? Because you're going to leave me. His voice broke. He wasn't just obsessed. He was terrified. I'm not her, she said gently. You can't save her by keeping me. I know, he whispered, but I have to try. He pulled her into his arms. Please don't run from me again. I lost her once. I won't lose you too. As the final boarding call echoed, Tosin understood something horrifying. She wasn't getting on that plane. He would never let her go. Day one took Tosin to his penthouse. It wasn't a request, not a suggestion. The driver pulled up the moment they left the airport, and before she could protest, she was in the back seat with Day one beside her, his hand gently but firmly holding hers. You can't keep me prisoner, she said, her voice hollow. I'm not keeping you prisoner, he replied. I'm keeping you safe. Those are the same thing. He didn't respond. The penthouse in Gangnam occupied the entire top floor of a luxury building. Floor-to-ceiling windows exposed the glittering cityscape below. Inside, everything was black marble, sleek lines, and cold minimalism, just like him. You'll stay here until it's safe, he said, guiding her inside. Safe from what? He turned to her, his expression grave. From the consequences of what I did to protect you. Before she could ask what he meant, his phone rang. He glanced at the screen, his jaw tightening. Wait here, he said and stepped into another room. Tosin stood in the massive living room, her mind spiraling. She could run. The elevator was right there. But she knew it wouldn't matter. His men were everywhere. She wouldn't make it to the ground floor. She was trapped. In the study, Day one answered the call. Talk, he said. Min Jae's voice was tense. Boss, we have a problem. A big one. What kind of problem? The man you killed. The boyfriend. His name was Park Jin-suk. Day one frowned. So, he wasn't just some random guy. He was Park Sang-woo's younger brother. The air drained from Day one's lungs. Park Sang-woo, the leader of the Crimson Serpents, one of the most vicious gangs in Seoul. Ruthless, unpredictable, and now with a deeply personal reason to come after him. Fuck, Day one muttered. It gets worse, Min Jae continued. Sang-woo knows you killed him, and he knows why. Ow, someone talked. One of Jin-suk's friends saw the girl at the police station the next day. Put two and two together. Now Sang-woo thinks you killed his brother over some African girl you're obsessed with. Day one's blood ran cold. Where is Sang-woo now? We don't know. He's gone dark. But boss, if he knows about the girl, double the security on this building. Triple it. Nobody gets in or out without my approval. Already done. But you know Sang-woo. He's not going to just send men. He's going to make this personal. Day one closed his eyes, mind racing. He had killed Jin-suk without checking, without thinking, without realizing what chain reaction it would ignite. And now Tosin was in danger because of him, the very thing he was trying to prevent. Keep me updated, he said, and find Sang-woo. I want to know where he is every second of every day. He hung up and stared at the wall, fists clenched. He had put her in danger, the one thing he swore he'd never do. When he returned, Tosin stood by the window with her arms crossed. What's going on? She asked. And don't lie to me. He considered lying, but something in her eyes stopped him. The man I killed, he said slowly. Your ex-boyfriend. He had a brother. Tosin's face paled. And his brother is Park Sang-woo, the leader of a rival gang. Oh God. Sang-woo knows I killed him. Day one continued. And he knows about you. What does that mean? It means your target now. He'll try to hurt you to get to me. Because you killed his brother. Yes. Because you were protecting me. Yes. Her legs gave out, and she sank onto the couch. This is insane. I came to Korea to study, to build a future, and now I'm in the middle of a gang war because you couldn't leave me alone. I'm sorry, he said, and he meant it. Tears streamed down her face. Sorry doesn't fix this. Sorry doesn't make me safe. No, he agreed. But I will. I'll fix this. How? By doing what I do best. The darkness in his voice made her shiver. For 3 days, Tosin was trapped in the penthouse. Day one came and went, always flanked by armed men. He brought her food, clothes, anything she needed, but not freedom. She spent her days staring out the window, feeling like a bird in a gilded cage. Kayamika texted constantly. Where are you? Are you okay? Did you make it to Nigeria? Tosin couldn't tell her the truth, so she lied. I'm fine. Safe. I'll explain later. On the 4th day, Day one returned home, looking exhausted. Any news? Tosin asked. He shook his head. Sang-woo is in hiding, but he'll make a move soon. Men like him always do. And when he does, I'll end him. He said it like he was talking about running an errand. You talk about killing like it's nothing, she whispered. Because to me, it is nothing, he replied. I've killed more men than I can count, and I'll kill 100 more if it means keeping you alive. I never asked for that. You didn't have to. He sat beside her, closer than usual. Do you know what the worst part is? What? I don't regret it. Any of it. Because if I hadn't been there that night, you'd be dead. Tosin stared at him, searching his face. You're not a good man, are you? No, I'm not. Then why do I feel safe with you? The question surprised both of them. Day one reached up, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. Because you know I'd burn the world down before I let anyone hurt you. His hand lingered on her cheek. For a moment, neither moved. Then Tosin pulled away. Don't make me feel things for you. Not when this is all so wrong. He nodded, respecting the boundary, but the look in his eyes said he was already in too deep. And so was she. On the 5th day, everything fell apart. Tosin was alone. Day one had left an hour earlier, leaving 2 guards outside the door. She was in the kitchen making tea when the lights went out. Suddenly, completely. Her heart ceased. Hello, she called. No answer. Then she heard it. Gunfire, muffled, coming from the hallway. The mug slipped from her hands, shattering on the marble floor. The door exploded inward. 3 masked men stormed in with guns raised. Tosin screamed and ran toward the bedroom, but one grabbed her, slamming her against the wall. Got her, he said into a radio. Good, a voice replied. Bring her to me. They dragged her toward the elevator as she kicked and fought, scratching and biting, but they were too strong. A needle jabbed into her neck. The world went fuzzy, then black. The shipyard lay like a graveyard of rusted metal and abandoned dreams. Day one arrived at midnight, exactly as instructed. Alone, or so it appeared. His men were hidden in the shadows, snipers on rooftops, assault teams tucked inside shipping containers, watching and waiting. But Day one walked into the center of the yard by himself, hands visible, weaponless. At least, that was what Sang-woo needed to believe. Calm Day one. Sang-woo's voice echoed across the empty space. The monster finally shows his face. Floodlights snapped on, blinding him. When his vision cleared, he saw them. Sang-woo stood high on an old crane operator's platform, 3 stories above the ground. Beside him, hands bound and mouth gagged, was Tosin. Her face was bruised, blood crusting her lip, her eyes wide with terror. But she was alive. Day one's hands curled into fists. Let her go, he called out. This is between us. You're right, Sang-woo said, pressing a gun to Tosin's temple. It is. You killed my brother. So now I kill what you love. Your brother was a piece of shit who beat women, Day one said coldly. He deserved what he got. Maybe, Sang-woo said with a shrug. But he was my blood, and you took him from me. He cocked the gun. Tosin whimpered behind the gag. Wait, Day one shouted. You wanted me, right? Here I am. Let her go, and you can do whatever you want of me. Sang-woo paused. Tempting. But watching you lose her will hurt more than killing you. He moved the gun from her head and aimed at her leg. Then he fired. Tosin screamed as the bullet tore through her thigh, sending her collapsing to her knees. Daewon roared and charged forward, right as Sang-woo's men emerged from the shadows. 20 of them, armed with automatic weapons. Gunfire exploded around him. Daewon dove behind a crate as bullets ripped through the air. He pulled out 2 handguns from hidden holsters and returned fire, dropping 3 men instantly. His own men swarmed the yard. The night erupted into chaos. Explosions, screams, bursts of gunfire. Daewon moved like a ghost, killing with lethal precision. His mind held only one thought: get to Tosin. On the platform, Sang-woo dragged her toward the edge. Tosin fought weakly, her blood pooling beneath her. He's coming for you, Sang-woo hissed. And when he gets here, I want him to watch you fall. Below, the platform overlooked a 40-foot drop into a concrete drainage pit. Daewon reached the base of the structure. Bodies littered the ground around him. His suit was torn, blood soaking into the fabric, but he kept going. He looked up and saw Sang-woo with a knife pressed to Tosin's throat. Drop your weapons, Sang-woo shouted, or I cut her now. Daewon set his guns on the ground. Good, Sang-woo said. Now climb. Daewon climbed the ladder, each rung sending pain through his broken fingers and deeply cut palm. When he reached the top, Sang-woo kicked him in the face, knocking him to the metal floor. Stay down. Daewon pushed himself up. Let her go. Or what? Or I make your death last days. Sang-woo laughed, until Daewon lunged. He tackled him away from Tosin, both men crashing to the floor. They fought viciously, each hit fueled by rage, grief, desperation. Daewon slammed Sang-woo's head against the platform again and again until Sang-woo landed a hit on his shattered fingers. Daewon's scream echoed through the yard. Sang-woo shoved him away and scrambled toward Tosin. She tried to crawl, but her leg gave out. Sang-woo grabbed her by the hair, dragging her to the edge. You want her, he shouted. Catch her. And he pushed. Everything slowed. Tosin fell backward, her terrified eyes locked on Daewon's. She didn't scream. She simply fell. Daewon threw himself forward, reaching with everything he had. His fingers caught her wrist, barely. Her weight dragged against his broken hand. Blood slicked his grip. He dropped onto his stomach, both hands clutching her wrist. I've got you, he gasped. I've got you. She dangled 40 feet above concrete, trembling. Don't let go, she whispered. Please. Never. He tried to pull her up, but his broken fingers failed him, and his right hand kept slipping in blood. Behind him, Sang-woo laughed. How poetic. You get to watch her fall, just like Hyrin died. Daewon ignored him, straining with everything he was. Daewon, Tosin said, her voice suddenly calm. It's okay. No, don't say that. You have to let go. Shut up. I'm not losing you. Her eyes softened. Look at me. He did. It's not your fault, she whispered. Not this. Not Hyrin. None of it. Tosin, please. I forgive you. Something broke inside him, and then his hand slipped. Just a little. Enough. Her wrist slid through his fingers. Tosin, he screamed, lunging desperately. But she fell. Her body plummeted. Their eyes met one last time before she struck the concrete with a sickening, final crack. Daewon stared down at her broken body, refusing to believe it. She didn't move, didn't breathe. Gone. A raw, animalistic scream tore from him, a sound of pure soul-shattering agony. Behind him, Sang-woo laughed. Guess you couldn't save this one either. Daewon snapped. He spun, grabbed Sang-woo by the throat, and lifted him off the ground with one hand. Sang-woo choked, eyes wide in horror, as Daewon slammed his head into the railing. Once, twice, again. Min-jae arrived with men, shouting, trying to pull him off, but Daewon was beyond human, locked in a trance of destruction. He didn't stop until Sang-woo's skull cracked, and there was nothing left of the man. Only then did Daewon collapse to his knees. His hands were mangled, useless, bones and skin shredded. But the pain didn't register. Nothing did. Min-jae approached cautiously. Boss, kill them all, Daewon whispered. What? Daewon raised his head. His eyes were dead. Hollow. Every member of the Crimson Serpents. Every associate. Every family member. Every person who ever helped them. Erase them. Boss, do it. And Min Jae obeyed. What followed became the bloodiest week in Seoul's criminal history. Day one turned into a ghost, a demon, an unstoppable force of vengeance. He slept nowhere, ate nothing. He hunted. Safe houses burned. Businesses exploded. Soldiers died screaming. Day one killed most of them himself, despite his shattered hands, using knives, pipes, anything. By the end of the week, the Crimson Serpent ceased to exist. 3 weeks later, Day one stood before two graves in an empty cemetery as rain fell softly. One on the left, Lee Hai-rin, 1994 to 2018. One on the right, Tosin Adeyemi, 2000 to 2025. He knelt between them, bandaged hands resting on trembling knees. The doctor said he would never fully use his left hand again. He didn't care. I failed you both, he whispered. I promised to protect you. And I failed. Rain washed over him. Hai-rin, I thought saving someone who looked like you would fix the broken parts of me. But I only destroyed another innocent life. His voice cracked. Tosin, you told me I wasn't responsible for Hai-rin, but I'm responsible for you. I pulled you into my world, made you a target, held your hand, and let you fall. He closed his eyes, tears bleeding into the rain. I'm so sorry. He stayed there for hours. When he finally rose, he placed a single white rose on